Hello there, everybody. I hope you are doing well. Good to be back with you. I'm a Fefe with Touch by Tarot and Beyond. If you're not familiar with me, glad you landed here. Hope you hit that like and subscribe button. I am a tarot reader. And I'm also a former journalist, newspaper journalist, so that's kind of gives you an idea of how I approach my readings, especially political readings. I do a couple of new moon and full moon pick a card readings each month as well, so I kind of mix it up with the spiritual woo-woo with the political. Right now I feel like we're all walking with a foot in both worlds, right? On the one hand, trying to stay abreast of what's happening in the world around us, and on the other hand, really trying to strengthen our faith and our own sense of self and power so that we can deal with everything else. All right. If you're not familiar with me, I'm also a former newspaper journalist. So journalism in my background kind of gives you an idea of how I approach my readings spiritually. And I am an initiated priestess in both Wiccan and African traditions, specifically the African Yoruba. So yeah, got a lot on my plate. I love doing this work. I'm glad to be here with you. Let's get into a couple of things. Woo, okay. Talked about Joe Biden. We've all talked about Joe Biden, wishing him the best, prayers for him. We knew. Me, like many of you, the minute we heard those messages of condolences and care from the FDTs, I call him FDT, fake fraud felon DT. Soon as we heard the messages from him and his whole cadre, expressing support, it's like many of you, I was like, 5, 4, 3, 2, boom, here's gonna come, here comes the nonsense behind it. And sure enough, it's happening. So we're already seeing the conspiracy theories. We're hearing Don Jr., who, by the way, many of you may have heard, has already said he is hearing the call to follow his father's footsteps and run for office potentially in 2028. So we'll be talking more about that. Knew it was coming, but okay, so he's leading the charge in a lot of what we're seeing come out now subsequently about who knew and why didn't we know, and was there an intentional cover-up. What I want to look at, you all, the name, in addition to Joe Biden's doctors, and they want to try and dig all of that up and go after them, potentially launch investigations, is Dr. Joe Biden. Who, just to show you the wackadoo-ness. So Don Jr., who comes out right away and starts, throwing these darts. Aha, here we have another cover-up. And Dr. Jill Biden should have known all of this. She's not a medical doctor. Just like, woo, okay. And that's who's going to run for president. But hey, All right. I do want to take a look in all seriousness, you all, with everything this family has been through, prayers even to Hunter, like, wow, what is this doing to that family? Are they actually going to go after Joe Biden? That's what I'm primarily, my guides are like, let's take a look at how she's going to be. And if in fact they're going to go after Joe Biden, we have justice that comes at the bottom of the deck, but I also get the world card at the bottom of the deck, and I'm happy to see that. Why? Because that tells me it goes nowhere. All right. Yes, there is going to be a lot of, they're going to try and put some momentum behind, did she encourage him to go forward and run in 2024? Was she really the, driving the wheel behind Joe Biden as he was becoming increasingly diminished? Was she the mastermind behind it all? So yes, the spotlight is going to be on Joe Biden for a while, but I love that the world card came behind it. I'm going to pull a couple of more, because the world is a card of completion. Been there, done that. Close the book, next chapter. It's and there's a part of this, the way that as a first lady, as a human being, Joe Biden, the way that she's conducted herself, it just will not go over well. There's no base, and certainly to the extent that any charges or any formal hearings would take place, it would be so distasteful. And there's the Empress. That's her showing up. Thank you, Spirit. There's the Empress. Her there is something in her energy and in what we know of her, that the very idea that she would do something nefarious, Five of Wands, that's the blockage. There would be such a hue and outcry from those who would come out in defense of her, and even to the extent that she would need some counteracting legally. It's going to be, people would be scrambling over themselves to represent her, to help her in the defense of anything that would be brought against her. And here we have the Five of Cups coming behind it. 2 fives back to back. Fives representing in tarot a number of strife, a number of difficulty. But the Five of Cups really is remembering too the subject matter of this that is prompting these conspiracy theories from MAGA, from Don Jr. et al. Is it is something that the truth of the matter is, this man is fighting for his life, and she is his wife, and all of her energy and focus and attention needs to be on that, rather than being pulled into something that really is just for political gain, is just for trying to give that really radical far right base more red meat to chew on. It's not going anywhere, you all. I mean, they're gonna continue to try and make something of it, just to try and score political points. Anytime they can say the name Biden, and there's temperance to confirm. Thank you, Spirit. There's a mixed bag there. It will, the word that I'm getting is, it will just blow over in time, because there's no there. There is no there. Jill Biden did not, she was not the one driving some massive cover up to try and keep Joe Biden in office. Simply just not true. It is just shameful that discussion is even being had. But Jill Biden is going to be okay. I strongly feel that, especially with temperance showing up, people are going to be more focused on, look, give the people a break and let their focus be on healing rather than continuing to dig. It's not going to result in anything, and it's actually going to turn a lot of people off. All right, moving on, you all. Assault charges brought against New Jersey Representative LaMonica McIver, right? We all heard the story. So she's at this detention center. We've seen the videos. So this whole crowd, people being jostled and pushed and whatever, and she's being pushed up against these ICE agents' backs, right? I think it's, if almost any of us, if you're crunched in and jostled about that way, you're trying to protect your space. So she was offered Jersey, bringing these charges, Alina Habba, of all people. We remember how sparkling she was during the Trump trials in New York. So she's brought these charges. Supposedly she tried to make a deal, or try to get LaMonica McIver to cop to a plea deal. And McIver said, I'm not doing that. I didn't do anything wrong. I was there doing my job. I have a right. We had a right to go in and observe that detention facility. Want to take a look. Let's go to Spirit and see how far is this going to go. And what I'm getting, and I'm sure many of you as well, is this is showing the extent to which this administration will go, the Department of Justice will go, if we can even call it that any longer, will go to try and use fear and intimidation tactics to show anyone who will show up on behalf of democracy and the people to say, don't do it. Here's what will happen to you if you do it. Spirit, what is going to happen with LaMonica McIver and the charges brought against her? How is that going to turn out? LaMonica McIver. The Five of Cups. That struggle. The Two of Wands. That's her partnering and having the support, the many political leaders, as well as leaders in the legal community, are going to be ready to partner with her and say, let's get through this, let's move forward. And she is focused forward. She's ready to fight. Queen of Swords. I feel like that's her. I don't know her astrological sign, but I feel like that's her saying, continuing to be rational, continuing to put her argument forth, continuing. We will see her. She's already been on a lot of media outlets, being interviewed. We will see more of that as she continues to outline her perspective in the media and in the public eye. And there's the Lovers. That's, again, I feel like that's a huge, with that Two of Wands that came a moment ago, that's tremendous partnering and support that she's going to get. And this also feels like some sort of, I don't want to call it a deal, because, like I said, she didn't take that plea deal, but there's some sort of, Alina Habba's team will reach a stage where they know we don't have enough to actually prosecute her, that this was really a scare tactic. Spirit, will this sort of subside on its own? Page of Swords. Finding the material to continue to keep it in the news cycle as long as they can, as a means to continue to try and wave a flag, at people. Watch out, this can happen to you. We're not going to play with you. We will prosecute you if you do anything that gets in the way of our agenda. But there's the Knight of Cups that comes, and I think that is enough support. Knights are movement, cups are emotions. There's and the flow of what happens with people like LaMonica McIver who stand up. There's enough of a flow, Spirit is saying, you all. King of Swords. That is, I know that Jeffries has already come out. Hakeem Jeffries has already come out, as he would have to do, right? Minority in the House. That is people coming out, and there's justice that will be done for her on her behalf. Am I getting that right? That she will emerge from this. And there's the Chariot. Thank you so much, Spirit. Yes, she'll be fine. This is not going to, this again is another delay tactic. It's another attempt by this administration to put certain things in front of the public eye that is meant to deter the real issues and those people in leadership who are ready to stand up and continue to fight for democracy. It's just a scare tactic, but ultimately, this particular case against her is going against McIver doesn't look like it's going anywhere. The Chariot says they're going to try and push it, but there's the Five of Wands. There's the conflict behind it. It doesn't go anywhere, and it's just something that continues to illustrate. Thank you. I love my aces. If you're with me, when I see my aces, that's my guides, spirit guides, and ancestors saying I'm on the right track with how I'm interpreting things. So yeah. This is going to be a bumpy ride. Going back to that Chariot, it's going to be a bumpy ride for McIver, but there is no there. She was there in the act of doing her job. The fact that she was being jostled and that she tried to protect her space against that back of the ICE agent is by no means an actual assault. And Spirit just gave me an image of what about those cops during the Jan 6 riot that were being pressed. I can see his face and the helmet that was being pressed and crushed up against those walls, if that wasn't assault, if that wasn't criminal, then come on, right? Come on. So there's that. She's going to be okay. She's going to be okay. It's going to be a little bit of a hurdle, and but she's strong. Spirit is saying she's very strong, and the amount of the support that she is going to get both from the legal community, the political community, and her community, the people, is going to be overwhelming. All right. Last thing I want to look at, you all, is hurricane season coming up on the heels of these tornadoes. Kristi Noem, bright shining star that she is, so, gets in like the whole habeas corpus thing. Like, you all saw that? Wow. Okay. So, well, we won't get into any intelligence quotients today. But the idea that these red states in particular are being affected and severely impacted by these natural disasters like the tornadoes that have been going on in Missouri, Kentucky, Arkansas, other states now. I think Tennessee, they're on alert if it hasn't already happened, but we know. So, and then on the heels of that, we're going into hurricane season while FEMA is being decimated, like so many other federal agencies is being decimated. But what really pings here is that in this case, especially with the recovery or attempts at recovery or lack thereof in these red states, you've got Andy Beshear coming out talking about, the Trump administration has actually been pretty good with all of this, blah, blah, blah. Why? Because you have to say these things in order to try and get the money you need. It's about survival, right? It's about survival. It takes me back, Spirit just took me back to Gretchen Whitmer in Michigan, where a lot of people were like, Gretchen, what are you doing? Up in the White House with this dude. What are you doing? But again, she had her eyes set on what she was trying to do for her state. So we've got Josh Hawley out of Missouri, Andy Beshear out of Kentucky, Josh Hawley out of Hawley, if I can get my words right. Sorry about that, y'all. Out of Missouri. I mean, these things, you would think that this administration, Kristi Noem et al., no matter what, would say, hey, these are our folk and we got to go take care of them or figure it out. And they're just saying, it's on you. It's on the states. Going to take a look at this summer and hurricane season and how this is going to work with FEMA. Because what I'm getting, and I'm sure many of you as well, is not a newsflash, like things are going to happen and the need is going to be great. What are they going to do? Spirit, what is this administration going to do regarding FEMA and natural disasters, especially this summer? We have the Queen of Wands. I feel like that might be Noem again. They're going to put her out and try to make her the face of, continue to make her the face of it with the Eight of Cups. Ooh, I don't like that. Because that can be interpreted as an energy of walking away. Literally, walking away. Spirit, is that what you're showing me? Is this the administration, or at least this person, continuing to say it's not our issue? This is up to the states to figure out how to dig themselves out of this catastrophe. Is that right? They're going to walk away? There's justice that comes again. Justice has been hot this morning in this deck. Will states bring legal action? Will states try to bring legal action against the government for not? Ace of Wands. Whoa. Okay. To the extent, and I'm certainly no lawyer, but to the extent that there are some sort of legal remedies that the states would have to look to FEMA and the administration and government for certain protections, that's what they're going to do. And there's the Magician, 100%. That's what they're going to do, you all. States are going to get, and especially these red states, they're going to start to fight back and say, okay, fine, this is, to an extent, we accept our own authority and knowing that we have to work within our means and take care of, utilizing our own resources. But that does not absolve the federal government from recognizing us as a part of the United States of America, and that is in this situation we need disaster relief. We need help. Will this backfire? Will this attempt to walk away backfire? Yes, it will. The Temperance card. Now, this is also a card that takes time. There's moderation and patience indicated here. There will be those who, even in these red states, that are deeply impacted by natural disasters. And I do feel, Spirit, are we going to have a busy hurricane season? Is there more to come? Is there more to come? The Empress, that's the earth. This is earth energy, weather. Also the devastation of the National Weather Service, not having what it needs to be. So, if you have the National Weather Service that is not able to get the messaging out, see what's coming, get the messaging out, and that is a function of government, then does that lead to states being able to say, hey, you did not do your job in alerting us. We couldn't even prepare as an independent. We couldn't even prepare as states to take care of our people because you did not do what you were supposed to do. And this is the Empress that came. I feel like that's representing earthy energies, or the energies, the weather, the energies of the weather, with the Eight of Pentacles. A buildup. A buildup. We're going to see some interesting things this summer. And that's not to be, let me be clear, if you've been with me at all, you know my energy, you know my vibe. I'm not an alarmist. I'm not like, oh my God, what are we going to do? Furthest from it. But I'm very practical in that regard, and that's how I'm approaching this. I am approaching this topic is more practically. Is this something that is likely to happen? The likelihood, and it does look like that with that Eight of Pentacles, and there's the Tower that just came to confirm. So yes, I'm not saying to anticipate, the worst. I'm saying in terms of people being prepared, having the information that they need, the National Weather Service in particular, and then after anything that should happen, the ability of FEMA to have, to have the mobility, to have the funding, to be able to go in to the states and help with any kind of disaster recovery. This administration that we started out with, that Eight of Cups, they're like, you're on your own. And there's the Five of Cups. So sorry for you. And this is the disappointment that I feel like we're getting to MAGA. This is the disappointment that a lot of people, we've been waiting. So many people have been saying, when are at least a huge swath of the MAGA faction going to start to wake up and go, this is not it. This is not it. And surprisingly, we've seen them just continue to dig in, and hang out behind their Messiah, because that's essentially what FDT has become to them, is their Messiah. They it's really, really interesting. But there's some disappointment there. There's some genuine hurt. There's some genuine, when people realize they're sitting there without food, without electricity, without being able to drive, their roads closed off, etc. Where do you go from there? And there's the King of Pentacles that comes from that. There is someone who is going to start to highlight and elaborate the extent to which I'm hearing the word betrayal. That this is the betrayal of the American people. And the Three of Wands, a growing is this governors of red states or Congress people of red states beginning to coalesce and resist? It is. There's the world. So what this does in the darkest and saddest and most twisted way, you all, is it will bring, to the extent that we will have continued natural disasters, there is a lack of investment and ability of FEMA to address it, and permission for FEMA to go into the states and address it. There is this growing collaboration among states gathering, and to the extent that it is that they experience is an absolute dereliction of duty of the federal government. Boom. That's going to blow up big time. All right, you all. It wasn't sunshine and rainbows today, but it is something, I think the more we can just objectively prepare ourselves for what is happening. We see things playing out. We've said it over and over again. We see things playing out bit by bit. It feels like drip, 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 drip towards America resetting, really hitting the reset button. Please, let's continue to pray for Joe Biden, and Democrats in general, the Democratic leadership, which now, in addition to everything else on its plate, is having to deal with this topic. Yeah, that part. And let's pray for media, as someone who, that's been near and dear to my heart. It pains me. It just pains me to see the coverage that's happening, and to know that a large part of the reason that that coverage is taking the direction it has is because of the pressure by this administration. We've seen it happen to CBS, all these other institutions that are, if you don't do what we tell you, it's fascism at its best, right? But we're gonna survive it. We're not going down, y'all. We're gonna survive it, and we're gonna emerge from it, and then we're gonna really have our work cut out for us, because it's not gonna be a flip a switch and everything go back to normal. Similar to COVID, Spirit just said to me, right? Spirit, similar to COVID. We got through the pandemic, but we all recognize that this is a different world, and in some ways we are changed from our pre-COVID, pre-pandemic lives, right? But we're here. We're here, and we're going to be okay. So to that end, chin up, shoulders back, right? Stand in your power, stand in your faith, stand in your strength, stand in your compassion, and remember to breathe. All right, I'll talk to you in a couple of days. Bye.